spotless Lamb, redeeming sacrifice, and taking all of my sin and shame, so that you will be glorified. Slave to sin no more, ransomed by the King, held captive by His love. All I have is what I believe. Christ is sufficient to cleanse my soul, broken to pieces, His blood made whole. Enslaved by grace, but from sin set free. Oh, Christ is sufficient for me. Holy, merciful God, Creator of the skies, who knew our very hearts before there was time, printed on our souls, proclaimed in the stars, jealously pursues our hearts, offering abundant life. Christ is sufficient to cleanse my soul, broken to pieces, in His blood made whole. Enslaved by grace, but from sin set free. Oh, Christ is sufficient for me. Christ is sufficient for me. How can take away what love gave? No chain can contain those who believe. Oh, church, let us stand, forever justified, for Christ is all we need. Christ is sufficient to cleanse my soul, broken to pieces, in His blood made whole. Enslaved by grace, but from sin set free. Oh, Christ is sufficient for me. Christ is sufficient to cleanse my soul, broken to pieces, in His blood made whole. Enslaved by grace, but from sin set free. Oh, Christ is sufficient for me. Christ is sufficient for me. Perfect, spotless Lamb, redeeming sacrifice, taking all of my sin and shame, so that you will be glorified. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this journey. And for all of those of you who had texted and said in the chat that none of my audio was on, I appreciate every single one of you for being so honest with me instead of just grinning and bearing it and saying, Lord, bless his heart. He's trying so hard. Although I guess at that point in time, what I should have done was just been like, man, that guy can play and nobody can hear him. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate you spending your time with me on this beautiful Thursday night. And I know a lot of you guys really, really love the hymns, and I do too. I'm a huge fan of singing hymns. In fact, funny story, I'm leading worship at my church this weekend, and there were a couple of hymns that were on the the planning center thing. I was like, yes, we're going to sing some hymns. And the first one is one of those hymns that they redid and put a funny little chorus on it. I was like, oh, man. But we're doing the old rugged cross. All 4 verses, baby, and with nothing but just the hymn styles. It's going to be so good. So stoked for it. So anyway, here's a couple of hymns. I can't fit all of my favorites in because we just wouldn't have time for that. In fact, I probably would pass out from lack of eating or oxygen, one or the two. So I decided to just try to, put as many together as I possibly could in short spans so that we could all get to bed at a decent hour tonight. And so see if you guys can keep up. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. 'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just in simple faith to plunge me neath the healing, cleansing blood. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Some bright morning when this life is over, I fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It is a blast to be able to play and make music for you. I hope that you guys are doing okay. I know this entire world right now seems like it is flying off the handle and being absolutely ridiculous and crazy. And I hope personally that you guys are doing all right. I know there's a lot to try to take in every single day. And in some days, I think the best thing that I've ever done when my wife and I and our kids took a break a couple of weekends ago was literally just to go outside, lay down on the grass, and look up at the stars. And remember that God is in control. which makes me really want to sing a Twyla Paris song right now. Haven't learned that one yet. But anyway, there are a lot of things that we can do in this life to be able to impact others. I think I know for me personally, the reason why I create music is to comfort the afflicted and confront the comfortable. And as I've said before, the comfortable typically looks a lot like me. I'm the one on the couch that has my righteousness on one side, my Jesus on the other, and ain't nobody going to touch me. They're not going to get in my house, and basically bubble up inside this Christianity that all of a sudden looks more like self-proclamation than going out and boasting because of the gospel. And this next song is a reminder to me that there are so many times where we tend to make rules or things that tell us that we can and can't do things. When the best explanation I've heard is a lot of times God looks at us like we're like how I look at my kids. When they hand me a piece of paper, in fact, tonight, my daughter came up and showed me this awesome picture of a unicorn that she had colored. And she, stayed pretty close to in the line. She's a perfectionist like that, and she wants to. And I was like, that is absolutely beautiful, and that is awesome that you did that. And I love her, not because she showed me the picture, but because she's mine. And then my son came up and showed me another picture of a unicorn that he scribbled on, and he got 2 colors on that one, which is awesome. And I love him too. But I don't love him any more or less because of what he's done with the painting. And I feel like a lot of times we try to compartmentalize and make God into this being that he isn't, trying to stay within certain lines and parameters, when really what he wants us to do is to take his love that he's given to us and go give it to other people. And not be so worried all the time about the rules that we've made up that he calls out in the Pharisees, but to go learn how to love people. And a lot of times that looks like getting in other people's shoes. I equated it a while back to the idea of living in the gray. We have black and white on both sides. So we have dark and light. And it's not between evil and good. It's mostly between two just opposites. And there's the opposite of we love people too much. And then there's the opposite of truth. We're supposed to love people in truth and grace. And a lot of times we forget that love needs both of those in order to be able to work well. And that middle point is that gray area where a lot of times it's just so uncomfortable to be able to live in. Because all of a sudden you can't be all the way to one side or the other side. You have to learn to get into the mud and the muck with people and point them to Christ. And I hope this can be an encouragement to you. It's not easy to understand. It's not easy, but I'm gonna try. Never been so humble when I am looking through another's eyes. Walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Walk a mile down the middle of the street. Don't deny the present truth, even though it's the daily reality. 'Cause life ain't always so black and white. There's right and wrong on both sides, fueled by fear and intolerance. It's time to reverse this trend. Stop looking the other way. Start living in the gray. Oh, I am a product of my surroundings. I am a product of my own thoughts. I don't have to let it stay this way. I can choose to not blindly obey. Life ain't always so black and white. There's right and wrong on both sides, fueled by fear and intolerance. It's time to reverse this trend. Stop looking the other way. Start living in the gray. fueled by fear and intolerance. It's time to reverse this trend. Stop looking the other way. Yeah, stop living in the gray. Living in the gray. Living in the gray. Living in the gray. Oh man, speaking of living in the gray, I think some people who have it the hardest right now as far as being able to serve others are our first responders, both police, firefighters, nurses, anyone on the front lines in our military as well. They're caught between a rock and a hard place between doing what they're told and following orders, and the general public that has not had any of the training nor a lot of the ability to be able to see exactly what they're seeing in the same spot. But they continue to choose to put their lives on the line every single day that they walk into work. You know, my job, as far as a musician goes, I'm typically not worried about whether or not I'm going to come home or not that night. Most of the time, I'm worried about what I'm going to eat, or who I'm going to meet, or if my guitar is going to stay in tune the entire time. Not things that I would say are life and death. And I want to dedicate this song to all the first responders, especially our United States military, our police force, our firefighters, and the first responders. This song is for you. Always the first to respond when all's not okay. Faced with life and death situations every single day. On call with no sick days, even the middle of the night. And holidays and weekends are only when there's a break in the fight. For all who serve, we salute you. You are the brave that was sent to protect this free land. Brothers and sisters, united we all stand. A nation under God, out of many one. This country was born from sacrifice and continues on because all who serve, we salute you. We salute you. Keep your head down when the bullets start to fly. I won't stop praying till I know that you're alright. Keep your chin up, soldier. We're proud of what you do, fighting to protect our freedoms with the deepest gratitude. For all who serve, we salute you. To the family and friends who gave up their love to fight on the front lines with one last kiss and a hug. To the boys without dads and the girls without moms, fathers and mothers who gave all they had and never came home. For all who serve, we salute you. We salute you. We salute you. We salute you. You are the brave that was sent to protect this free land. Brothers and sisters, united we all stand. One nation under God, out of many one. This country's born for sacrifice and continues on because all who serve, we salute you. We salute you. We salute you. We salute you. It's so easy nowadays to think of all the good things that happen in life and to be overwhelmed by all the bad and to think that someday all will be made new again. That last song being for first responders, and there are a lot of people who've suffered loss, and it's not just related to the military, it's not related to police officers or to firefighters, or even first responders, nurses, and doctors. All of us have faced loss at some point in time in our life. Sometimes it's a little bit more potent than others. Remember the first time that there was a significant death in our family. It was one of my dad's closest friends who was a truck driver. And I remember when we found out that he had a heart attack, my dad and I were riding our bikes on the bike path, and I had never pedaled my bike faster in my life. My parents took us to my grandma's house, and they went to the hospital. And when they came back, they told us all the news that Mr. Bob was no longer with us, and that he was with Jesus. I'm so thankful that God has given us hope beyond the grave. Some of my closest friends here in Fort Wayne had to experience the same thing with their first daughter. She was born and in 3 days they had to say goodbye to her. And there are no words that have ever been written or can ever be said that will wipe away the pain that they feel or that anyone feels when you lose a loved one. Like I said before, my goal with writing music is to comfort the afflicted and confront the comfortable. And a lot of times that just involves listening. This song was written out of listening. After they had lost Emery, there was a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. And there still is hurt and pain. And there's nothing on this side of heaven that will make it any better. But we still have hope. That God is who He says He is. And that even in the darkest of times, and when we don't feel like it, He is still working everything for His glory and our ultimate good, even when it doesn't seem so. So even in the moment of our deepest pain, we can still look through tear-filled eyes and say, I love you still. I feel like I swallowed a knife and cut down deep inside. Nothing short of a miracle could take this hurt away. As each moment passes by, the weight of my greatest fear arrives, holding me below the surface where I can barely breathe. With empty hands and a broken soul, I want you back, but God said no. With endless tears I plead my case. It was never supposed to be this way. I don't understand and I never will. And I love you still. Life will never be the same. You changed our world in so many ways. There will always be a void your life was meant to fill. I am angry, hurt, and afraid. I never thought I could feel this way, but I feel like part of me was stolen away. With empty hands and a broken soul, I want you back, but God said no. With endless tears I plead my case. It was never supposed to be this way. I don't understand and I never will. And I love you still. You were only here for a little while, but I'll never forget you, my child. With empty hands and a broken soul, I want you back, but God said no. With endless tears I plead my case. It was never supposed to be this way. I don't understand and I never will. And I love you still. I love you still. And I love you still. My hope tonight, friends, is not that all of a sudden pain completely disappears. My hope is that you find peace from the one who can truly give it, and that's through Christ and Christ alone. My friends still do not have their first daughter. They don't have their second daughter. Someday they will meet them again. My sister, her first two kids are in heaven as well. And sometimes God gives us a glimpse of the hope that we have. My sister was saying goodbye with her husband to his grandmother. And she had been kind of incoherent for the past couple of days, and all of a sudden she started naming names of people that had passed on before. And before she passed away, she said, there's 2 little ones that I can see, and I don't know their names. God knows your name. He's known it since the beginning of time. Before he knit you in your mother's womb, he knows who you are. He knows who every single child that never breathed a breath on this earth is, and he calls them by name. God is not just this magnificent being that set the world into motion, spun it up like a top, and took his hands off and said, good luck. He knows the number of hairs on your head, and he knows who you are. He is far bigger than we could ever imagine and far greater than we could ever hope. My encouragement to you is that because he is that big, he is big enough to love you. And if you don't know what I had done, you know it'd take a lot to forgive this broken one. Some would never consider my soul worth anything, but to him who is much bigger, I was worth everything. My God is bigger than the stars in the sky. My God is bigger than the question why. My God is bigger than the storm or the sea. My God is big enough to love me. Pieces all around, sharpened to the tip, cutting all that pass like a diamond bit. We all started out this way, broken pieces on the ground. None would even take the chance until my good Lord found. My God is bigger than the stars in the sky. My God is bigger than the question why. My God is bigger than the storm or the sea. My God is big enough to love me. Heart so big, wrongs can be lost, not without notice. There was a higher cost, so I'll sing. Yes, I'll sing. What a poor wretched sinner I am. What a poor wretched sinner I am. What a poor wretched sinner I am. But he still loves me. What a poor wretched sinner I am. What a poor wretched sinner I am. What a poor wretched sinner I am. But he still loves me. Oh, my God is bigger than the stars in the sky. My God is bigger than the question why. the storm or the sea. My God is big enough to love me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we know there's days to sing God's praise. Then when we first begun, my God is bigger than the question why. My God is bigger than the storm or the sea. My God is big enough to love me. My God is big enough to love me. Big enough to love me. Thank you guys again so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. I'd like to propose several trades with you. One is, if you go to the first link that's listed below where it says free download, that is my entire Trade It All record that I would love to give you completely for free. I just need to know where to send it. So if you go to that website, type in your email address, I will shoot it over to you. That is my gift to you. Would love to hear what you think, but would more than less just love for you to listen to it and enjoy it and be encouraged by it. Second link where it says Give Hope is a link that will take you to MAP International that will allow you to actually partner with me in MAP International and getting medication to those who need it most. A lot of times we, gripe and complain about having to go to Walgreens or CVS is the other one, or Walmart, or wherever you get your medication, and it's a pain in the butt because we got to go get it, but we have access to it and can always get to it. There are a lot of people in this world that do not. I've partnered with them to mention every single time I have a gig or do music somewhere that is part of my mantra of comforting the afflicted is by, through them, getting medication to people who need it most. So you can find that out, that link. And then the last one, of course, is the virtual tip jar. If you enjoy the music that I make and want to help me get it to more people and encourage them with it, by all means, you can do that there. So some trades that we make in life are completely fair, like your email address for a free record. I think that's pretty fair. Some are not, and sometimes that is okay. We traded cards when we were kids. Something we had for something we wished. It wasn't always easy letting go, but once you shake hands, that's all she wrote. I traded it all. I traded loneliness for a diamond ring. No more late nights wondering who she was or if we'd meet. When she said yes when I took one knee, I traded it all. Now I wouldn't trade a thing. Every dream that I traded for this reality made me a rich man no fortune could ever bring. I traded it all. Now I wouldn't trade a thing. I traded loneliness for a diamond ring. I have 3 booster seats, just enough space for the pack and play. Roll up the stroller and we're on our way. I traded it all. Now I wouldn't trade a thing. Every dream that I traded for this reality made me a rich man no fortune could ever bring. I traded it all. Now I wouldn't trade a thing. There are things that I miss that I'll never get back. But looking at my life, I'm sure glad that I have. I traded wrath for amazing grace. A substitute took my place. The gift of life paid for in blood. I'm bound for heaven by His love. I traded it all. I traded it all. I traded it all. Now I wouldn't trade a thing. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, it is fantastic to be able to play and make music for you. I appreciate you guys spending your Thursday night with me, of all people. I want you to know that you are precious I have these wristbands that I wear all the time that say every life is precious. And it's because I need a reminder to treat people the way Christ treated me, with love and seeing the image of God placed on every single individual. So I want you to know that you are loved, you are precious in His sight, and you are precious in my sight as well. I hope you have an awesome rest of your night, and no matter where you are never too far to come back home. Driving at sunrise, chasing mile marker signs, leaving last night at the side of the road, cruising past street signs illuminated by headlights, but not sure where I'm gonna go in this journey. Is lonely. Oh, when you're all alone, the road can be so empty. It's been too long since you've been home. Come back to me, I wanna see your face. Wherever you are, you're never too far to come back home. Thank you guys so much. It has been an awesome time being able to play and make music for you. I hope you were encouraged. Know that you are loved. Have an awesome rest of your evening. Feel free to like and share this with others, and we will see you guys next time, all right? Be good to each other out there.